Hey guys, hope you're doing well and welcome to another volume of manga I'm reading with you today. A shocking major MCU level plot twist, it isn't even a volume, it's a first chapter. Or you could have just read the title. Why do I write this useless shit in the script? What we have here is a new series called Alien Headbutt by Akira Inui. The mangaka is really new and even with my very intensive 1 second Google search, I cannot find really anything about the person. Nevertheless, I hope them well and I hope this series is the best. 10 points for the creative title and cool ass artwork though. This has gained a lot of popularity overnight on the Viz app. If this is not clear by the new style of video format, I have started using digital apps like Viz Media and Manga Plus to help me, and the quality should have improved drastically by now. Another benefit of using digital reading is that you can get exposed to all the new manga that is just getting made, and whole new chapters that have dropped. It also helps with the painful weight of physical printing too, because if you're like me, you are a fan of the big new manga game changers like Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man. But when you are a fan of the popular things, people can't wait to spoil every fucking minute of enjoyment. I know that Jujutsu Kaisen is done, but yet I'm only just seeing volume 29 being printed. How am I meant to keep dodging all of this? I've even blocked my family group chats in case I get exposed to spoilers on Facebook. And trust me, it is not a risk I'm willing to take. My mum literally banned me from Monster Energy cans because of a misleading report and a woman dying from them. What she failed to read was that the culprit took 4 cans of monsters within a 2 minute period, while also dealing with multiple heart conditions. So I know how people can be when they read something online. It's time I actually start the manga because I'm very interested from the title alone. I also want you guys to know I haven't read this beforehand. This is very new. This is me reading it as you go along with me. The story starts with a meteor of some sorts with some date and coordinates. Jokes on them though, I only know Google Maps and Uber Eats routes. It shifts over to 3 little kids who are practicing their power of God and anime on their side and manifesting the skills they've gathered at a small age. The main character on the other hand has learned from the most feared men. John Cena, Randy Orton from 2009, Hornswoggle, and the scariest one of them all, James Ellsworth. Shortly into the manga we start to see an established theme of how a lot of successful series go, which is our series underlining plot but sprinkle in humour. The main character Shirikiba Uga was growing up infatuated with wrestling as he found an old taping from his dad. Let's hope it wasn't a Hulk Hogan match or we are doomed to a manga world of leg drops. This dream follows Shirikiba Uga throughout his life, starting from age 9 to the age of 15. I will keep referring to him as Shirikiba, even though I'm lying to you because further in the script, I just call him Uga. But if I do say Uga a lot, I'm just going to think of Ooga Booga from Crash Bandicoot, so I apologize in advance. But I just lied to you. That dream has already been crushed and replaced by another dream being a fisherman. Maybe I'm using the term dream a bit loosely there, but it is quite common for this type of life cycle. When I was growing up, I had dreams of being a footballer, a basketball player, a YouTuber, and even a singer. But despite doing my own music and of course being on YouTube now, I have amounted to the very prestigious job title of warehouse ornament. So I resonate with his decision to go and fish. It is most likely a more feasible and opportunistic decision. The mum who the main character is talking to brings up the noticeable change about wanting to be a fisherman now instead of a pro wrestler. Before the question is answered, 21 and Counting starts to film the family invading their privacy and a huddle of people surround Uga. It gives me the impression they are a loving family that are very strong in the bond they have. Gave me a little bit of a warm heart, but a skeptic side of me believes it can go horrible very quickly. Now it is time for a little story with Caleb to create a break from the chapter we are reading. I used to be such a hater of slice of life or any good nice feelings, but I must have been listening to too much emo songs at the time because as soon as I gave a series like Spy X Family a chance,
He loved thee.
sometimes seeing well written characters do well and get a comfort even myself was looking for tells me just to be happy with the good and not wait just for the bad. Story time over though, we're back to Alien Headbutt. What a relief because who would have thought a Kaida Boy video of him talking about Alien Headbutt would entail him talking about Alien Headbutt. We learn that the sole reason Uga wants to give up on his dream of being a wrestler is because he's worried about his siblings. More of the family situation is revealed as one of the reasons behind this self-contained obligation is because the father has passed away. It is almost like a mutual pact that any person in this position makes. I know Kaida Boy is infamous for his dead dad or deadbeat dad jokes, but if I'm being truthful for a second, this is something I have dealt with firsthand. I have a mom and an older sister, but once my dad left when I was 4, I grew up with an almost oblivious decision pre-made for me. I had to be the guy who protected and tried to fill that role my dad left. It was not easy, and I'm not looking for any sympathy or to take credit from my mum who had to deal with the bad times, but I'm just bringing it up as I understand how important family can be and how other people's priorities can outweigh your own. It does turn out a good ending from the story I told you, though, as it made me grow up more and become more aware of the true reality of this world. Not every bad thing you experience defines who you are or who you are meant to be. Sometimes it teaches you what life can't. But I am going on a tangent now, so back to the manga. As I was saying about good endings to stories, the conversation about Uga's dreams ends with the news from his mum. She has tickets to Tokyo and they are for him. No more limitations. It can feel like a bit of a cop-out though, because her just having the tickets despite having a full starting 11 of kids is a little bit unbelievable. But maybe she is like a secret YouTube makeup influencer. They are basically sleeping in money. Safe to say it was not a decision of only his mum, as his brother interrupts with more breaking news. He has signed Uga for a Japan Pro Wrestling tournament. Although the news surprises Uga, he vows that the next time you see him, he will be an established pro wrestler. But he cannot make the promise before doing some additional aura farming. Of course, I mentioned Jujutsu Kaisen, so I guess it rubbed off. I know this may be the biggest part of the channel's history, but I never really considered how details and muscles can actually impact your imagination. For example, if a character is drawn like your alcoholic uncle, then that beer belly ain't gonna display strength, but rather make you think he would fall over his Stelicans before he throws a punch. But if a guy is built like Baki Hanma, then you will take the character more serious if the manga is based on showing that strength. Not even a page later, it dives us straight into the wrestling sequences. I get flashbacks to the I Quit matches from John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, and the list goes on. Great nostalgic feelings, but that was a guarantee with a manga trope like this. He is choking out the heavyweight champion with a chain that, because of the neck veins popping out, looks quite devastating. The heavyweight champ breaks out while screaming for a fair one-on-one. Trash talk is the first line of defense from Uga, but I do not think words will stop a flying dropkick. This is genuinely becoming a mirror of my childhood. My sister's teddy bear still has nightmares from the amount of pedigrees and tombstone power drivers I did to it. Actually, where is that teddy bear? I'm going to give it one more. Conversations about the art of pro wrestling echoes around the arena. The world champion underestimates how much desire and heart Uga has, and gets caught in the same hold Uga used to perfect as a child. The champion then goes limp and Uga wins his first championship. Headquarter gossip will fill the locker room with a new face on the map. The chairman and the secretary are speaking about the whereabouts of Uga, as sake provided by sponsors are ready to be given to him. He doesn't seem to drink, which with my guess is to keep his Bobby Lashley build pristine. Or maybe there's some family issue there. Maybe it explains how the dad died. A simple time skip is used as a passing conversation because the visit to Uga's family will be the first in 5 years. I now know that my new face on a map sentence does not exactly apply anymore, as 5 years is not a fast-track journey of any kind. Uga has now returned to his homeland, which is named Corpse Island. What a nice name for a nice town, am I right? Uga meets this random guy who has some cool meta glasses on, and they both reach the island safe and sound. But only for the moment, as this place does not seem safe in the slightest. Cars are flipped over and even crushed in ways that only Saitama could cause. Comedic relief guy Timmy Two-Shade shows off his Sherlock Holmes skills and points out the most painstakingly obvious thing in front of them. It is clear that it is no crash that Glasses believes it to be. Uga thinks the best course of action is to call up the family, and maybe they can clue him in on this. He must be connected with Talk because his shitty ass service ain't working. Should have went with Virgin Media. And I do want to make it clear, I'm not sponsored, that's just what I use. They're okay. Anything's better than Sky. Without a second to spare and no chance to change his network provider, Timmy Two-Shades is spark kicked into Monday Night Raw by some alien daddy longlegs. I know he looks nothing like a daddy longlegs, but if you look at this, how do I even describe it? This is what Pacific Rim would look like if Dwayne Johnson got to pick. Props to the mangaka though, they really do well with the shading to emphasize each section and line. It wouldn't look too out of place if you saw this in a big title like Tokyo Ghoul or even Kaiju number 8. Considering the mangaka has only just burst onto the scene, this is a very good way to put a spotlight on your manga. Dude with the shades then gets turned into a family portrait and left inside the wall. This alien hates Specsavers and they can't hide it. It also knows the forbidden technique of aura farming and poses. But excuse me there, little alien thing, but this ain't JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Fighting must start between the new contenders as only one can remain on top. No word said yet by the creature, so it must mean fighting is all it cares to do. John Jones then appears within the body of Uga and elbows the alien in the face. Maybe a few eye pokes too. It is equal as of the current standings, with the odds in the alien's favour because of visible damage. This alien's been practicing though and just overhands the fuck out of Uga and leaves him immobilized. Maybe this guy's been playing Undisputed or even UFC 6. With Uga's life flashing in his eyes, we see a callback to seemingly a training session between him and the chairman. Uga is getting his arse beat like he's doing in the current situation, but the chairman gives advice. Grit and going through the depths of hell is what it takes to make it in pro wrestling and even the real world. Motivation is shooting in Uga's veins, and his mind was made up as soon as he remembered his family. Now it's time for round 2. Uga then does a clothesline from hell right after the bell, sending the alien far into the distance. Uga is fired up and devoted to winning now. This is all thanks to a clear mind that being close to death has simplified things. Lefts and rights are thrown, but Uga catches the back of the alien. In MMA terms, you're either screwed or you're going to sleep. But in WWE terms, it's suplex city, bitch. GTH suplex straight onto the alien's neck. GTH stands for go to hell, which is ironic. Admiration for the suplex nearly made me forget the key detail of Uga's nickname, Shirikiba the Hellhound. Has a nice ring to it and a nice call to Mob of the Dead from my memory bank. The alien ruins the day though by no-selling and throwing his chain weapon piercing Uga. Where did that attack come from? Sorry to burst the bubble, but the alien is still down for the count, and his corpse is using its defensive mechanism to attack. The chapter ends with Uga fighting off the annoying weapon and trying to tear it to pieces. So we've finally done it in all of this video here just for a single chapter. It puts things into a different light when seeing what you can gather from this. There's comedy, slice of life, and even action. It seems to have everything built for a good shonen. I have refrained a lot in this video from positives and negatives. I feel it's only right as it's the first chapter, but once a volume worth is out, I'll be diving more into that. If I had to give a quick example of both a negative and a positive, I will say this. For the positive, I will say I'm pleasantly surprised by how good and detailed the art is. I love pro wrestling from my childhood and admire it still today, but for different reasons. I like how it uses the ideas of childhood dreams being crushed by realistic problems, where people have to change and alter their life just to make their dreams reality. It also shows how family can drive you on top of shifting to action after slice of life. There is a question I have which can be a negative in my eyes. Just from this chapter alone, I am not sold to the concept. As much as I love pro wrestling, I still don't have a feeling that it could compete with aliens. The main character may be a beast, but to survive attacks that could yeet a person through a wall, I'm not really believing that. I also really don't know how much they will structure future chapters to make this fresh. Are you going to tell me he will beat human-killing aliens by doing a few five-knuckle shuffles and a swanton bomb? There has to be some form of underlying power we haven't seen yet. Even in Baki, it's people versus people. I know he gets a little bit goofy with the physiques and how they can stop attacks and how they deal with attacks, but they are still human enough to feel grounded and equal. This is why I'm going to be patient on my true opinion until further in. Thank you guys for watching another episode of this manga journey, and this has been Alien Chapter 1. I'll see you on the next one, and peace.